part 23 of Luke, and we are going to start with chapter 22, verse 23. This is where Jesus is talking to Peter about him denying him, and Jesus told Peter, the rooster will not crow today until you have denied knowing me for three times. I've just taken these words here, and placing them over here. Knowing me 3 times. Now here, this verse is completely out of place, and when you read it, you'll know that that's when he sent out the disciples. Then Jesus told them, this here again is when he would have sent them out. So, but I do want to point out that they did use a bag here, so, but the object is because I changed their baskets into these bags. And I'll tell you that which, well, we don't need those words. We just need the words what was prophesied, not written. Now it must be fulfilled. It will be will fulfill. I will fulfill. He has condemned, not numbered, but condemned. He was condemned by sinners. He was not numbered with sinners. What I'm referring to here when I'm correcting this verse, it is that Jesus was first condemned by the priest to be able to be betrayed to him, and then these are sinners, they don't believe in our Creator, that's one of the commandments, that they passed him off to the Romans by this releasing him one and replacing him with another one, and then they crucified him. So this couldn't have been, he was numbered with transgressors. So the thing here is it has to be he was condemned by sinners before anything else happens here. He's talking about what was going on. He's not going to say that these words before he's already let them know that he's going to die, but he is now talking about what Peter's going to do, and that's going to be denying, and that's because he was to be condemned by sinners, meaning that the elders and priests are going to arrest him, which refers me as to fulfillment. No, this is already here when it says will fulfill. And this here, this is just, again, text relating to up here. So that's just going to be removed. Then they went out to the mount with olive trees, and after they arrived, he said, petition YHVH that you will not enter into evilness, not temptation, but evilness. And that evilness is, like I was saying, why I changed the word sift. Let me show you people here this up here. Satan has demanded permission to sift you like wheat. The word sift, that needs some kind of mesh net or meshing to screen. That wasn't invented at that time. So sift you like wheat. And when I looked up the words sift, it was the only word that they used that way. I couldn't think of a better word, but when I'm realizing that Satan is demanding your soul, that's because Jesus is going to tell him he's going to deny him 3 times, and deny Jesus, you aren't supposed to enter into heaven. So Jesus is down here in this verse here, tell him not to enter this evilness, that you will not enter into evilness. But it doesn't happen that way. It's not a temptation, it's evilness. After he knelt down, he said, "My Father, if you are willing, remove this act from me, not this cup, this act from me." And that's the act is referring to him suffering on the cross. "Yet let it not be for my wanting, not my will, but my wanting, or your will be done." Um, and yeah, the other's pretty easy to explain or understand. And we don't need to know how Jesus, I don't think anybody's ever sweated when they've sweat like drops of blood falling down upon the ground. No, that's not true. That doesn't happen. When he rose from petitioning YV, he came to his disciples and found them sleeping. Not sleeping from sorrow, but sleeping. After waking them, excuse me, boy. After waking them, he said, "Why are you sleeping? Rise and petition Wivey that you will not enter into evilness." He's reminding them again the same thing he said above. It's not a multitude, it's a crowd. Came with Judas, not one called Judas. We know who he is. It's Judas. Don't need to say he's one of the 12. And proceeding, don't need those words. After he approached Jesus, he kissed him. Now, this to be an act of betrayal, to be able to arrest them, this betrayal, this kiss, is a gay kiss. Two men kissing. And that was able to seize them because that is against their law, the Israeli law, that they can't do that. Now they can arrest him. They have the authority to do this. Okay? So now Jesus said, "Judas, you betrayed me with a kiss." Then the disciples saw the kiss. When the disciples saw the kiss, one said, not they said, just one, "My Lord, shall I kill him? To strike is to kill him with my sword." And he's asking Jesus, "Do you want me to kill him?" Because they too know that this act is punishable by death. Our Creator was, when he sent Joshua into the promised land, and even Moses into the most of the promised land, that 3 tribes or 2 tribes and half a tribe stayed on that side. They literally killed all men, women, children, and animals for the simple fact that they were having sex with all these each other and all these animals. So that's why they cleaned off the land. It was pure out it's just sickness is the only thing I can think of. But they had accepted it as normal at that time, but cleared off the land, got rid of all them. A certain one struck the slave of the high priest, cut off his right ear. You cannot take a sword. You cannot take it and just strike and cut off an ear. These guys weren't experts at with the sword, and it would have cut off half his head and or face and or the side of his face, and it would have struck him into the shoulder. So this we know really was not done. This is just not true. If it was true, it would have said more than just the right ear. So a certain one of them struck the slave, but that would have been for protecting Jesus from them coming towards them. But the only thing is they really aren't slaves. Israelis did not have slaves. Jesus answered him, no. That's all he has to do, because this touching his ear healed him. No, that doesn't matter. No more of this. No, that doesn't. He just said no. He answered the question, kill him with the sword? No. But he said to our tribes, not chief, but our tribe priests and their officers, who also came, why have you come with swords and clubs like against a murderer, not a robber, but like a murderer? It's more of one who is murdered that you seek with swords and clubs. If it was a robber, you might just use clubs because you were not to kill him. So the thing here is the way I'm reading the text is more of a murderer. His gate. Oops, I missed that again. Oh, why why not there? That means to arrest him, lay hands on, but that's really not there. Me to I know. This is your hour of your power, of, of power of darkness. Well, I'm going to correct this. You're sitting in darkness. Do not do this because it can kill you if not done right. I will put up a video to explain how to do this properly without killing you, okay? But this hour of darkness that Jesus is talking about, that they sit and meditate, it's in the morning hours before the sun rises. And so this is the time that they're going to arrest Jesus. 5:30, 5:33, I think. 5:30. I think it's 5:33 in the morning, or 5:34 in the morning, that they have this experience of when they meditate. This female goddess, who they think is a female goddess, appears to them, and they have this uh, sex-like experience with her. And because it's repeatable at the same time all the time, this is what I'm correcting here to point out, to know that this is they're sitting in darkness, and it is their way that they have this repeatable proof, is saying that this is the way to live, okay? And you have to remain single to have this experience with the so-called female goddess. Now, I know that the Hebrews do practice this. After a certain age, they tell their parents, after they're done having children, that the parents remain single even though they're together, and they have this practice. So it's kind of disguised and hidden from you that you don't know these things, but because of this, they all agree with one, and they all do these things behind the scenes. And just like here, you don't even know who's editing the text of any of the Bibles today. And if you did talk to them, you would find that they have this practice of sitting in darkness, and they're all single. And you'd be wondering, why is that true? But I'm letting you know what's going on here, because it's time that you all wake up and learn why our Creator sent them into captivity. I'm saying this because, let me go here a little bit further, and I just want to show you that in the text, we can find verses like this in Malachi on the Hebrew side. And this is when the kingdom of Judah, this here is the kingdom of Judah, has profaned the house of our Creator, which he loves, and has married the daughter of a foreign god. And this is what I'm talking about here. The Queen of Heaven, this is Jeremiah, and this is talking about how Judah had did all these things and how much they had corrupted the whole nation, where he says, I'm done. I'm going to send the Babylonians down, and they're going to take you all away for, as he did promise, that if they were unto him, they could stay on the land and they'd have plenty of food. But if they didn't, he would send them away into captivity. And that's the text. Yeah, I guess that's, well, the sitting and meditating thing, this is pulled off the internet. Because the good guys are starting to take these things down. I needed to make sure that I screen captured the internet here. And you can see that when you search the word Kundalini, okay, all these pictures pop up. They're sitting in darkness and they're having this sexual experience. Here's a real good example of it. But I'm just saying that a lot of this has been being taken down and then it's being re-put up. There's a on back and forth. But here, this is the most description of it, the sexual experience. Shows the male's release, of his seed, how it happens in his body. But this is not a game. This is real. So don't sit here and say I'm making things up. Okay. But the object is these are those who are editing your text. And their day is done. And I'll show you that verse that Jesus prophesied this. Being removed, their power being removed from them. And after arresting Jesus, they led him to the courtyard for our high priest, not to the house. It had to be in the courtyard. See the word courtyard here. So they had started a fire in the courtyard as well. And they sat down together, and Peter sat among them, not sitting among them. He sat among them. Now, I'm changing a servant girl to an elder because you wouldn't have a servant girl there. The high priest would not want to have women around them. They're to remain single, so they don't need the temptation of a woman around, so they don't. They just don't have women around them. Example, notice Buddhism doesn't have women living in the Buddhist area. Okay, they have Buddhist areas for women only. But this is to keep away from the attraction that goes on between a male and female. But the object is I'm changing them to an elder. And then when I put all of them together, I will have the text figured out whether it was an elder, was an officer, who wasn't. Because right now when you go through each of the stories of Peter, you're going to find it's not going to be a servant girl, it's going to be a servant man, it's going to be a slave, it's going to be an officer. But the object here is no servant girl. We'll start off changing it with the word elder. Was with Jesus because the elder would have been one that said he was there. A servant girl wouldn't have been with the crowd then when they went to arrest him. They were officers, the leaders, the scribes, the high priest and the tribes priest. They all were in on the betraying scheme. so she wouldn't have been around. And he denied this. I do not know you, don't know him. And then another saw him. So we don't know who this is here, but another saw him and said, you were there with him. So this one has to be like an officer. Well, Peter said, I was not. And then about an hour later, another one said this male was with him, meaning this was Peter they're talking about. He was with him. And he is from Israel too. I'm changing the word. See, it says Galilean, and this is, like I said, they used it as a region. I renamed the regions more according to how the Hebrews lived, and as if a Hebrew writer was writing this, not that they wrote this and then the Greek come in and rewrote the text and divided it into 4 stories that really are even choppier than, well, you can see how bad they are when I'm going through here, but they all have similar like stories. And we're going to see what they all look like when we put all the information together. The truthfulness is the most truth that I've been given to know. I'm putting into the text. And then Peter did again, and the rooster crowed, and the Lord had told him, "No, this is already not known, because we have the word remembered his words." That's the words he remembered. And he went out ashamed. He didn't go out crying or weeping or anything like that. He went out ashamed because Jesus had told him, and he did not petition our Creator. And this is why I said, because he's denying Jesus, he will not enter into heaven. Well, that's why I had that verse changed to say those words. Okay, and many were saying many things against him, blaspheming. That doesn't need to be added. That's just a verse that doesn't add to the story, the truthfulness of the story. I think these are pretty easy to understand. Changing there. And the people assembled. Well, the elders, tribes, priests, and scribes led him to their council chamber. And asked him, if you are our king, tell us. If they wouldn't have used the word Christ, he's going around telling them he's their king. He's telling them about their kingdom. So if you are our king, tell us. Jesus said to them, or said, if I tell you, you will not believe me. If I ask questions, you will not answer me. So, because we know that the text that our Creator had prophesied, he was not going to allow these people who had left our Creator and having this sex practice with the female goddess, he was not going to allow them to all of a sudden switch sides right here at the end before, and then accept Jesus. He's letting it play out. That they are going to kill him because that's what they want, because Jesus is against them and they can't keep him quiet. So from now on, I, your son for man, will sit at the right hand of YHVH. Now this is the words that really are declaring that the Psalms 110, where it's written that David is told by our Creator that through his son's seed will come a king forever, and he will live in heaven, and he will sit at my right hand. Here we have Jesus telling them that, and they are not, and they said, you are not the son from YV, the son. I should put the word the son from YV, because we are all sons, all males are sons from YV. But and this, all this, I need it just to be black text and not bold. Okay. You are not the son from YV. This means that they've distorted the words and they're so believing in their practice that they could use these words, but they did not mean the words the way I have them. That the way you are to understand that these words are from Jesus. They didn't believe in Jesus. Remember, they're Jews, and so when they're onto the female goddess, they are not onto the Creator whom we know. So that's how that text is not going to be, or it's going to be left non-colored. And what need do we have for a test? For a testimony against him? They were trying to seek in other books. They were having people give false testimony. But here, when they're asking him, he is making himself equal to, because our Creator, because what they know is on earth, a king has his son sit at his right hand, the queen sits at the left hand, and he will ascend the throne. So they were saying that he is making himself equal, because just as a prince would have the authority to do a lot of things without the king ever actually overlooking him. So we know how ruthless a prince can be. Here the whole body, well, it's the council that we're talking about that went to a chamber, and then the council, these people together, brought him to before Pilate, and before Pilate they began accusing him. I had to add before Pilate, brought him before Pilate. Wait a second, that is a double, I don't need that. I think that's maybe why I had that as a question. They told him, we found this male misleading our people, not our nation. It can't be a nation because it has to be our people. And he was forbidding them to pay taxes to Caesar, and that isn't really the truth. And then they said he is himself, he said he is our king. So this here, but Jesus did say that. I'm just trying to think of the colored text, if that's right or not. We'll look at that later. Pilate asked him, are you the king for the Jews? Now here the word Jew is being used as like a one who doesn't really care about the history of saying Hebrew to Israel's, and then the non-believers of their way of knowing that our Creator exists as Jews. Here he's using it as a reference, as you're all Jews, okay, to him. Okay, so don't think the word Jews here is being used like the word Jews among the people, among the Hebrews. Jesus said, not as you mean. See, it has said, but this is what I mean by putting the word mean in here. I just explained that he doesn't understand that they're not all Jews. Then Pilate said to the tribe's priest and their crowd, I found maybe I should have counsel. Yeah, I think I should have the word counsel here. The tribe's priest and their counsel. I find no guilt in him. This here has to be in him. This thing stirs up our people over even in Judah, but he started in Israel. Okay, now this is where we're going to get to the text that he's going to go to Herod. So this text is the first one out of the three books that Herod's going to enter, and now we have a different account of Jesus. The ending. Until you read Luke, you would not know this. When Pilate heard this, he asked them, "Is he from Israel?" And changed it from Galilee. And what? Let's see. Just to make sure that if somebody just pops in, they're saying, "What's he talking about?" These three areas are how Rome divided up after the first governor of this area, which they had king named as a king, but you can't be a king because the Roman emperor is the king. In fact, I think it would have been the king of Rome, and it's just been distorted to be the word emperor. But the object is that when after one guy was ruler over all of it, and when he killed the children, I imagine there was quite an upheaval. And then what it would have been is that the Rome come in, removed him, and then realized how many people were down here, and they divided into three areas. This is the area they were calling Galilee. This one they were calling some word with the letter I, and down here would have been was Judea. Being I'm trying to relate the text to Israelis writing this. This would have been Israel. This would have been Judah. This would have been the old kingdom. And they would have understood that this boundary line was there for a long time. So I just changed this name to Jordan, and we understand it, what's going on as far as not saying Galilean and understanding where they were from. So because the text is going to say down here that he learned he was from Herod's area, okay? Not jurisdiction, but from his area or from his region. It was region now at this time. Oh, a little slippery there. So he sent him to Herod, who was in Jerusalem. All these, yeah, the only big change was to see a sign performed by him, a healing by him. So here we have text. I've added Jesus did not answer him. Chief to tribes, that's almost done ever. Asked him strongly. We got rid of this word for just children to be able to read the text. Herod and his guards, not soldiers, but his guards, treated him with disrespect, not contempt, but disrespect by mocking him and placed his robe on him. Placed a, let's see, how did they have this? because it's a gorgeous robe here, and I just want to make sure that the text, let's see, this is 23, and we have 11. Boy, it took me a while to realize what I was doing. I just want to make sure that that's the and dressed him. Okay, yes.
Hey.
Well, you can see that how they dressed him in a gorgeous robe. It's back to Pilate. Well, here, what I've done here in the text, I placed his robe on him, meaning Herod's robe that he had. And it wasn't a gorgeous robe, but it was just his robe. They wouldn't have had a second robe around. The guards wouldn't have just had that. He would have just said, I got another one hanging in my closet here. They're brought with me. So here, just put on him my robe, and he sent him back to Pilate. Now he has this robe from Herod on him. Now Herod, Pilate came. Well, this does not need to be answered. They would have known each other because they knew they were ruling for Rome. They most likely had to communicate between each other. After Pilate summoned the tribe's priest, they came to, okay, I'm seeing I got the words wrong here. They came before. I had to add this here, so let me make sure. I put this in gray text. But for the simple fact that we're going to be told that Pilate washed his hands and sat down. I'm not sure if it's in this one or not, but the object is that they had to become before his judgment seat to make the call. Okay, so it wasn't just bringing him back and making accusations from him, turning him over. And I don't even know if that was there at that time. They were taking him to his judgment chair or whatever. I just know that this judgment chair is for the masses. Okay, and that is what's going on. And they came before Pilate's judgment chair. And before them, he told them, "You brought me this mail." See how this text is almost like he's talking to the crowd out there as well, as one who incites your people to rebel. Yet before you, I have found no guilt in him regarding the charges you made against him, which means he was going around declaring his kingdom was in heaven. So it wouldn't be that Pilate was said that, yes, when I asked the people out there, sent my guards out and said to the people, they said, well, his kingdom is in heaven. So, and it has been distorted and still believed by a lot of Jews or non-believers of Jesus. They aren't quite those that meditate. Will argue that Jesus is supposed to be a king and conquer the land. Yet, when we look for descriptions of really Jesus, how we are expected to know him. Whoops. Are here in this in Isaiah 11, number 2. It goes through here where the Spirit of the Lord will rest upon him, the Spirit of YHVH. The breath of YHVH will rest on him, having like an authority. The Spirit of wisdom, the Spirit of understanding, the Spirit of counsel, the Spirit of strength, the Spirit of knowledge, and the Spirit of the fear of our Lord. These things don't say that Jesus is coming as a king, coming as a teacher, yes. This is why I'm saying he found no guilt in him by going out there and asking him, no, he's our king in heaven. Oh, we get to go to heaven now. And Pilate's like, okay, if that's what they're saying. So he says, I find no guilt of what your charge is. Because they didn't present it that way to him. Even Herod sent him back to me, and nothing has done deserves death. Okay, has been done by him. This extra text that does not need to be added. Here I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to this will be the last video after this. But it's time to stop this video. It's